I think that we use words, and we usually use words that we think we know the meaning of those words. And a lot of the reason that we mean what we say is because we think we know what we mean. Did you get what I just said? We think we know what we mean because we think we know what we mean. When we say things, we don't know where those words come from. And what they mean today is not what they meant yesterday. And yesterday can be 20 years ago. Yesterday can be 100 years ago. Certainly the things that people talked about before there were 2 world wars and a depression, those things were unfathomable to people in the early 1900s. People who went through Reconstruction and the Civil War, when hundreds of thousands of Americans died. At the same time, hundreds of thousands of Americans died in plagues of every sort. We have gone through stages and stages and stages as a country of what we consider times of hope and times of despair. I want to tell you, and you just heard it, but I want to say it in a different way. Despair literally means without hope. In the Bible, and to unity, to Charles Fillmore, hope was a word that we use called elpis. And elpis, hope, literally means anticipation of the future. It is an acceptance of the future. The Greeks and the early church used the word hope to mean the future, that we have a future. They didn't mean that it be good. They didn't mean that it be bad. Hope was simply the future, that we have a future. You see, the ancient world saw life as death and birth. And every birth ended in a death, and every death was a birth. And that was the evolution. So evolution literally means to keep moving forward. So hope didn't mean I want everything to be good. Hope meant I want to live. Hope meant I want to go forward. Hope meant I want to accept what is coming to me. And the idea that we have about those things came apart when the early church started to redesign the language. It started very early when what was written in Greek was translated into Latin, and the Greek way of looking at things and the Latin way of looking at things were just so different. The early Bibles, and even the Bibles now, the Bibles that we call Latin Vulgate, have a totally different meaning with the exact same words that the Greek and the Eastern Orthodox Church use for those very same words or concepts. They use different words in different languages. But we borrow those words, but we don't accept the meaning of those words. And so a lot of you heard a lot of words today, and it may seem like to some of you that we all get together and have lots of meetings, so all of the things that we talk about lines up, and the synchronicities of what the prayer is, or what Scott says, or what Tim and Mark were singing, that all of those things are in synchronicity, but we don't actually. I tell them what I'm going to talk about. They pick things and say things that speak to them. And the synchronicity of what we all bring together is partially because of the being in sync, but also partially because we are all experiencing things together right now. Many of us are experiencing different forms of despair. I was talking to Jim earlier today, and he was relating what's going on in his life, and it reminded me that as I talked about what I wanted to talk about, I was referencing my own personal life, but it also resonated with lots of other people's own personal life and what's going on in the world today. So my reality today is, as I'm here, my wife is home taking care of her mother, who has moved in with us. And she has late-stage dementia, she has vascular dementia, she has Alzheimer's, and she also has uterine cancer. And so we know what hope is in terms of what we have accepted as her future. We know where things are going. We know that we can't fix her. We know that we can't save her. We know that we can't give her chemo. We know that we can't give her surgery. We know that, and we have accepted that. But we also know that that is not the end of her life, nor is it the end of ours. Many of the reasons that we took her into our house is because she, like my own mother, was separate and away from us. And no matter how bad anything seems or is, she's with us. And she gets to spend the rest of her days with us and her grandchildren, and vice versa. On some days, that's not the greatest thing in the world. But on most days, we are filled with hope. Why? Because we have faith that there is reason, and we also are filled with what some people call charity. We can help her. We can give to her. Now, today in the prayer, you heard the wisdom of God. And when I say faith, hope, and charity, many of you, because I think of us all as recovering Christians, that all of us have ideas about what that means. I can remember being in Sunday school and singing over and over and over again. Every single week we sang this song. Have faith, hope, and charity. That's the way to live successfully. How do I know the Bible? I see some of you moving your lips with me. How do I know the Bible tells me so? Of course, none of us actually read our Bibles. If you had, you would see that in 1 Corinthians, that the Bible was actually saying, Paul was saying to the Corinthians in Greek, because he spoke Greek, and Corinth is in Greece after all. Actually, the whole north of Europe was Greece at the time, so we would all be speaking Greek, just the same way that Jesus was probably speaking Greek. Paul was saying, I am a mirror unto you. That he was saying, I am a light because I saw the light, because the light was reflected on me, and I now reflect it on you. He was saying, I am another you. He is saying, I am a piece of God, and I'm reflecting you, and you are reflecting your piece of God to me. And he did not say, take faith, hope, and charity. He did not say, have faith, hope, and charity. He said, these three things abide: faith, hope, and love. He said it in Greek, though, and I don't speak Greek. He did not say charity. He did not say, give away your money. He said agape. Agape is a form of love. It is self-sacrifice love, and that may mean giving away money, but it can also mean giving away time. It means to give of yourself as you have been given to. You heard another thing today. You heard a phrase called the wisdom of God. In the ancient Greek world, in Jesus' world, when he said the wisdom of God, he would have said Sophia. He would have been saying the mind of God, the thoughts of God, the wisdom of God is Sophia. Why? Because there was no male God. There would be later. or like the Jews interpreted it, or like the Romans interpreted, but in the Greek way, even before Jesus was born, when they were pagans. There was the mother God and the father God who were one, and their child. The Egyptians believed the same thing. Charles Fillmore tells us that faith, hope, and love come from the thoughts of God. And the thoughts of God are Sophia. Saint Sophia, in the Greek church, had 3 children. Her children were the martyrs, faith, hope, and love. What does this have to do with despair? Losing hope is like a death. All of you have, how many of you have heard of the stages of grief? Good, all of you, most of you. And if I remembered all of them, I would recite them to you. It's shock, it's denial, anger, bargaining, acceptance, right? It's like, I think it's dabda. The last thing is acceptance. We think acceptance means resignation to the reality that we personally believe is true. But that's not what acceptance is. Despair is a separation from yourself, from the wisdom of God. Despair is separation. It is a dissolution. It is being disillusioned. But the illusion that you had, that you think you are disillusioning yourself from, is not. You are always looking forward to your new adult-sized reality. Unless, of course, you're not an adult. But in Corinthians, Paul is clearly saying, namaste. And I want you to meditate on that today. Can I get the next slide? All right. So, what does that have to do with a burnt stump and a lady holding her boobs? The Greek translation of Isaiah's prophecy was that a shoot would come out of the stump. And if you take the Latin translation of that, it is clearly saying virgas, which means the virgin. And it also is a pun on the vine that grows out of the stump. And what that means is that the tribe of Jesse is David's father, worshipped this stump here. All over in the ancient world, you find these burned stumps. Why? Because in the ancient world, when we went from a matriarchal to a patriarchal society, all of the trees, the cedars of Lebanon, the goddesses that represented divine wisdom, were burnt by man, and she disappeared. She's not disappeared at all. She's seen in the tree of life. When we look at the Sephirot, she's still there. When we look at the peace pole, the obelisk, she's still there. She still exists. Why does she exist? And why is despair not a part of our nature? Because acceptance of faith and hope and love and peace and charity and charis and charisma and grace and all of those words that we use that came from the Greeks, we aren't given those. We don't take those. We can't buy those. We are born with them in us. Peace is a part of you. Love is a part of you. Grace is a part of you. Faith, hope, and love. And charity, which is charis, is all a part of you. When we have a setback, when we have a death, when we have committed a transgression, we have momentarily separated ourselves from God, who is unknowable, and what we know of God, from the wisdom of God, the reflection that we get from God, from what we call Sophia, sophistry. Our own minds, Charles Fillmore tells us, is where our faith comes from. Faith is the perspective of what you are able to do, not blind belief. We are all a part of God. How many of you went to the Hindu temple? Oh, excellent. Then you'll know that the thing that they were celebrating that day was Diwali, and I celebrate that too. Even though I'm a priest of the African religion, I celebrate Diwali. Why? Because I'm an ancestor worshiper, and my ancestors came from Indonesia. And so Lakshmi, and this is Lakshmi's puja, her ceremony, is very, very important to me and my ancestors. And as an Indonesian, Ganesha, who we call Ganapati, is also very, very important to me. Why do I say that? I was talking to somebody, and they were talking about how Fred was talking about how the concepts of Hinduism, even though they are embodied differently, are the same as we see in unity. My wife and I are priests and priestesses of an African religion that also talks about the mind of God and God as unknowable. And so she is a priest of Odu, and I am a priest of Ifa, and that is the male and the female, what the mind of God is and what the mind of God expresses. We are all intertwined. And so today, if you are experiencing whatever kind of grief you are experiencing, I ask you to just experience it, to go through it in whatever way you need to. If you are expressing despair, go through it in whatever way you need to. But I want you to remember something else that was said earlier today about prayer. Prayer is the act, is the expression, is the wisdom to reconnect with the divine. If you're in despair and you're in grief and you want to go to a place of acceptance, you cannot have, take, or buy that. You need to connect to the divine. And, like was expressed earlier today, prayer is not I want. It's not a laundry list or a wish list. God is not Santa. It is I will. It is agape. It is charity. It is charis. What will you do? How will you use your new found adult-sized reality? Because acceptance is not a thing in your mind. It is action. What will you sacrifice to reconnect yourself with the divine? Can I have a little meditation music, Mark? So there's a song that I want us to all sing in the future, because anybody who's seen me has known that I end my sermons by saying, Namaste, Namaste. And that means that the light in me reflects the light in you, and that we all reflect the light of the divine. It is impossible to see without light, and light reflects the colors of you so that I can perceive them. And my perceptions of you are partially my perceptions of the divine. And when I am disconnected from the divine, I am disconnected from you. When I hate myself, I can hate you. When self and others are one, we all are part of the divine. And it can't be any other way. There can't be a divine up there somewhere in a heaven and not down here. And if God is everything and everywhere, then how can God not be you? It's easy as I look at all of you to believe that you are all a part of God. But what about the people outside of here? What about our enemies? What about all of the people that don't think the way we think, have the same religion that we have, belong to the same political party that we belong to? It is okay to disagree, but it is not okay to hate and to believe that they too are not just a piece of the divine, but they are as divine as I hope you believe that you are divine. Alleluia, alleluia, namaste, namaste. Thank you for listening to me.
Hey, it's Reverend Mike here. I just wanted to stop for a moment before you get on with your day and thank you so much for spending time with us this morning. It means the world to us, and I just wanted to let you know if there's anything that we can do to make your experience even better, please do not hesitate to reach out by going to our website. I also wanted to offer you the opportunity for us to get together and sit down so I could get to know you a little bit better and answer any questions that you have. I can either do that by either getting together in person, have a cup of coffee, or we can meet online via Zoom. If you're interested, please don't hesitate to reach out. You can reach me at michael@courage2thrive.com. And lastly, if you find these messages are helping you, we would be tremendously grateful if you'd consider donating to the center. The best and the easiest way to do that is simple. Just go to our website. Again, thank you so much. Hope you have a great day. Hope you're doing well. God bless, and we hope to see you soon. Bye-bye now.